All right, thank you for tuning in on AWANI. And right now we're going to talk about on where the world is undergoing a rapid transformation with artificial intelligence or AI at the forefront of innovation. But while the technology is evolving at a breakneck speed, the question remains, are we developing the right talent to keep up? And Malaysia has been making strides in STEM education, but industry demands are shifting. And a degree in STEM education on today doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as it did a decade ago. And the question now is, how do we ensure our graduates are future ready? And beyond that, what are the key indicators of an AI-ready economy? So to help us unpack these pressing questions, we're joined by two distinguished experts, which is Rushdi Abdul Rahim, the President and Chief Executive Officer, Malaysian Industry Government Group for High Technology MITE, and also Mohamed Firouz Asnan, member of Board of Directors, University Technology Petronas, UTP. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on our studio on AWANI this morning. Perhaps, how are you guys?
Good.
Amazing.
Yep. Thank you.
Maybe we could start firstly to assess the current landscape. Can help me enlighten on where do we stand in terms of skill development and STEM education right now at this moment? Are we on track, or is there a gap between policy and also reality?
Well, we're headed in the right direction. But I think one of the things that we pride ourselves in Malaysia is actually there's this dissatisfactory with regards to trying to improve ourselves. So hence, the signs are there that we're moving there, but are we moving fast enough? Now, with regards to STEM talent, I think the issue is global. But however, in terms of Malaysian context, this is where we would like to have conversation about this. I think talking about AI and industry, I think a lot of people don't know. For the last 10 years, Malaysia is among the top 12 countries in terms of high-tech exports. And the last 2 years, we're number 9. Now, how do we keep this up? How do we improve? Now, is there talent, specifically high-skilled workforce? Now, according to the Department of Statistics, a developed country will need about 50% high-skilled workforce. At present, we're hovering about 30. So, what do we do? As we prepare for the future, one, we're talking about the current workforce. How do we transform them? Second, of course, somebody from UTP is here. How do we prepare the future workforce? So those are the challenges that we're going to face in the future.
Perhaps Mr. Firouz want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to pick up on the last point. As a university, we are supposed to prepare talent not just to enter the job market, but to be relevant throughout his or her career journey. That's 30, 40 years, right? And this is where, if you look at the way we've been teaching our students, it has not changed that much since I was a student. Whereas the landscape is changing. Just like we as a consumer expect better products from a car manufacturer or TV manufacturer, the same with the employers. So they expect talent to be up to date with the emerging technology. And secondly, when I started my career, there's only the government and a few MNCs. There's not much of a what you call startup or SMEs. But today, if you look at the employee landscape, you get different shapes and sizes. Of course, the MNCs are there, government is there, but you got the startups, the SMEs, and while in the past you can enter into job market and expect companies to train you up to be job ready, now the university has that obligation to do that. When it says job ready, is not only to what they call it to join the workforce, but to be running. What I mean by that is that over and above the ability, take for example an engineer, and I'm an engineer, and today we expect more from an engineer, not just to solve problems, but to be working alongside other disciplines, right? Because a lot of issues today, doesn't only require technical solution, but a complete solution. So like Cik Rushdi said, we are heading into the right direction, but we need to be mindful what more we need to do.
So basically, we're on the right trajectory, positive trajectory, but a lot more can be done. But over the years, industry expectations for STEM graduates have evolved, and it's no longer just about technical knowledge. It's about critical thinking, adaptability, and also interdisciplinary skills, which are now just as important as well. So from your perspective, Mr. Rushdi, how has this shift changed hiring and workforce development strategies?
Well, that is why I think at MIT we advocate a hands-on approach. The idea is the word turun padang. We advocate our partners to actually generate this interest in STEM beyond just mere CSR, because a lot of organizations previously, what they treat as this turun padang as CSR, getting children to be involved in STEM. Because now, the thing about this, if we talk about the future, there needs to be a sustainable supply of talent. By the time they reach the workforce, unfortunately, or by the time they reach the university, it will be too late. So they need actually to look at even the primary school. Now, again, a lot of it has been done. The Ministry of Science does tackling pigs and things like that. All is fair, STEM fair is well and good to generate interest. But I like the fact that this movement that's happening. For example, in Kulim High Tech Park, all the tenants, which is high-tech companies, actually they organize the tech fair, whereby they invite students and parents. That's very important, because sometimes people forget that parent is part of the STEM value chain.
Correct.
They will be trying to influence children what career path to choose. So hence, people will come to the tech park and see that, okay, this is what the job entails, this is what is needed, and this is what the career path in certain areas. The same goes for Cyberjaya Innovation Week, for example. Again, a lot of companies in Cyberjaya open their doors and allow children and parents to come into their premise and see what's happening. Now, this is good. And I like to touch also in the last one, again, another company in Cyberjaya called Turkish Aerospace, where they open up the doors for, I think, about 30 Malaysian students to actually undertake apprenticeship in Turkey, paid by the Turkish government, for them to actually see what's really happening on the ground and to generate those interests. So I think those are things that I think should be emulated by a lot of other companies, because due to the fact that, again, what they are trying to do, you can say for selfish reason, is actually to ensure, like what Turkish Aerospace is doing, to ensure that I get the first right of refusal with regards to the talent pipeline that's coming in. So hence, the interest is generated from primary school to the parents, up to universities, and hopefully to the workforce.
Perhaps something you can say from the institutions itself? Well,
I mean, both institution and also from the industry, because in my past life, I used to work for Petronas for 35 years. So Cik Rushdi mentioned about interest in STEM, right? So there is a perception that STEM is complex and boring, but we need students to be studying STEM, because this is where we make a difference. I'm not saying the non-STEM are not important, but we need a good mix. I think government has said that the good ratio would be 60-40. 60-40, and today we're about 50 point something, right? So we need to get the numbers up. We need, to do so, we need to make science, technology, engineering, mathematics interesting. So they need to be curious, because a lot of the challenges that we face today requires people who are curious enough to solve it. Because whatever is being taught in universities today will be outdated in years to come, right? So what are we actually educating? We're actually educating or conditioning them to have that critical thinking and also that design thinking. If you take the word engineer, sometimes people think the word engineer comes from the word engine. Not quite. It comes from a Latin word called ingenium, which basically translates to ingenuity, to create, to make things better, to have better schemes. So the students that we ought to be training is for them to have this desire to make things better. This is where in universities, the focus not so much content, because content will be outdated, but training their thinking skills. Because if they have that, when they enter job market, they have the right mindset. And it's a growth mindset because they know where to find answers in collaborating with other disciplines. So if one is a mechanical engineer, he or she can work with a civil engineer or even an electrical engineer. Because like I said earlier on, the world needs a complete solution because the world works in systems, not just works in specific discipline.
Correct, because we always talk about future-proofing the workforce,
exactly.
But the future is no longer some like distant concept, and those are the kind of skill sets that actually separate tomorrow's workforce and today's. So let's talk about AI deeply, which is often seen as the next frontier of economic growth. But what does an AI-ready economy actually look like? Perhaps Mr. Rushdi can help us understand this better. And are we measuring AI adoption correctly? Or should we be looking at a deeper connection there?
Well, the idea is actually AI is an enabler, again. Taking from Mr. Firouz take just now, we're talking about the future is about making things better and better things. So AI is seen as assisting this. I think the conversations around AI is actually we don't want AI to take over, but AI to make things easy for us. So hence, again, you see that the AI Declaration Forum in Paris previously, again, they were talking about how do we safeguard the use of AI against untrustworthiness elements. So I think in terms of measuring AI success is actually measuring productivity, just like any other technology. Because due to the fact if you use AI, we should be able to actually get that free time because AI is doing that and do something else, hence become more productive. But if just to take an anecdote, we don't want to be like the movie WALL-E, where we become fat and sit and sip drinks and not do anything. So the idea is actually, hence the conversation with regards to critical thinking. In mind, we promote the idea of deep generalists. You have sufficient depth, but also general. So how do we create this? So AI is supposed to help us with this. So if AI can't help us to do this, then we are in trouble. And AI is supposed to help with the mundane things. I joke with my lawyer's friend, AI is going to take over the things that the legal profession is going to do. And even at present, we are trying to look at AI in auditing. So AI is assisting, for example, Jabatan Audit Negara or our internal auditors in terms of trying to look for those mundane things. Hence, freeing up these professionals to do better things. So that's the challenge with regards to AI.
Indeed. Because productivity is one area which Malaysia needs to improve. If you look at the IMD World Competitiveness Index, kita punya, our scores on productivity is not all that great. So using AI, I think we should stop worrying about AI. Just like before, when we introduced the internet, people were a bit afraid. But now we live in the world internet. So we should be brave enough to say, okay, this is good. And this will not replace human, because human skills in creativity, having that empathy can't be replaced by AI. But there are things that AI can help us, so that we don't have to, spend hours trying to decipher data. They can help interpret for us. But finally, we will have to make the decision.
And that brings to my next question, towards this weariness, especially in students. How do you balance this AI adoption at the same time, ensuring that human talent remains at the center of innovation, especially?
Right. Well, I mean, AI can be introduced even in schools, right? With teachers having the AI capability to kind of personalize the learning for that student. It's almost like, I can profile you and what needs do you have in terms of, are you a quantitative person or are you a qualitative person? So if a teacher knows also your learning style, he or she can also tailor-make that learning. And AI now also have the ability to, it's almost that they can let you the knowledge in dosage, right? So okay, if you learn better in the morning, I'll load you the content in the morning rather than in the afternoon, and then we can see progress. So from an educator standpoint, so AI can help the educator. For the student also having access to the world out there using AI, the student can also be empowered. And never mind a lot of content, because the content will be there, but interpreting it, again coming back to the earlier point, sharpening the critical thinking. Yeah.
And perhaps for Mr. Mr. Rushdi, we know that to actually maintain that AI to not replace us, but to help us with mundane things, like I mentioned earlier, the keyword is keep up. So perhaps maybe you can share what are the proactive steps should we be taking now to ensure our talent remains relevant and competitive for the longer term.
Well, actually, at present, announcement in the budget talking about our budget, national budget has allocated some funds, major funds into AI research. That's one. I think YTL themselves actually has developed a center in terms of developing this AI center. Pockets of universities are developing that. I know for a fact that a lot of companies are also putting money into research into AI. So the interest is there. But keeping up, that's the thing. Now, I think a few months back, I think about 1 month back, then there's the announcement of DeepSeek, for example. Then suddenly everybody suddenly realizing that you don't need that much money to actually invest in AI research. So I said, because this is an ever evolving door with regards to technology investment. Yeah. So I do think sometimes there's a need to actually take a step back and look and again assess what are your AI needs, because sometimes we fall into the trap with regards to jumping the gun, just because this is a buzzword, then start deploying. Because at the end of the day, each organization need to understand what is the need for AI in their organization. I think the best case for AI is actually this: you don't realize that it's there. Waze, Netflix.
Yeah, it's
Google.
been there the whole time.
I mean, AI has been deployed in there, and you don't even realize it. Suddenly, it starts, as you said, profiling. It starts suggesting things to you.
I think the term AI just got introduced.
I mean, in literature, it has been. I think in terms of 19th century, it's already there. And previously, we talk about expert systems, which is a sort of I think. So now, how do we keep up? Well, that's the thing. There needs to be a foundation elements with regards to as Mr. Firouz was mentioning. Foundational, there needs to be students that's ready with regards to the foundation of it, in terms of what requires to develop an AI research. Then, if your foundation is fine, then regardless where AI is being deployed, you could be there. So again, I think there are some universities that actually, rather than talk about applied, but talking about the foundational of it. That's why you can see that suddenly we have opening up of IC design centers. Things actually moving back to, dare I say, back to basics or back to foundation, and that's the idea. Keeping up, I think where based on announcement, based on the MOUs, based on a lot of things are moving in the right direction. However, as I said, I preach caution with regards to how do we ensure that we don't fall into the trap of jumping the gun. That's that tendency as well.
But Mr. Firouz, some might argue that over 50% of students in STEM fields, there's only 50% in STEM fields. Right. So Malaysia is naturally positioned to lead the AI readiness. But the question is enrollment alone a strong enough indicator, or should we be looking at the deeper systemic factors right now?
So that's the quantity, right? Quantity, I think the nice number would be 60. Especially kalau kita wanted to become what they call it, an industrial country. If we want to remain as a services nation, 50 is okay, or even 40 is okay. So, but then there's also a question of quality, right? She mentioned about the foundation, right? So besides the what they call it cognitive skills, there's also need to be to be overlaid on top of it is the values, ethics. An engineer needs not only to be smart, but to be, to do the right thing. Yeah, and then to be customer focused. And then and some of this can be inculcated even in primary school, right? At the end of the day, whatever we do, there's a customer at the end of the day. And because things change every other day, then we need to be agile. Because not the fittest creature will survive. It's the most resilient that will survive all the era. The dinosaurs didn't survive. But what they call the first one, what are the microbes? Those things survive. So it's the quality. Hence, that's why a bit of promo for UTP here. We have introduced a program called Integrated Engineers for the Future program. So rather than just training the technical skills, we complete the engineer by having the ability to adapt, customer focus, sustainability, value thinking, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about value. Nobody will buy this thing for 15,000 ringgit, right? So it has to be of the right price. And then, and also being able to innovate. In Petronas, we have this. One of the cultural belief is, I challenge norms. So norm is not good. Status quo is not good because that can only buy us 1 or 2 or maybe 5 years, but we will be disrupted. So in order not to be disrupted, we disrupt ourselves by embracing, the technologies that's available today. And when I say we, it's not just the large companies. Even the SMEs should also be embracing AI, right? Parents should also learn about AI so that, allow the kids to use it, but use it in the right way lah. Because we don't want them to be submitting their papers using AI. Yeah.
Can I take this?
Of course.
I'm not the moderator, but I have because you're talking about the future-ready workforce. Now, again, you're talking about STEM. STEM not sexy. STEM is not sexy. I use the term. Now, if we're talking about future-ready, I'm just going to bring you to these particular facts. For the last 2 years, SPM, we're not talking about STEM, not at maths, but mathematics. The rate of failure for maths is 23% of the SPM leavers. So about 300,000 every for the last 2 years is about 23%. The one who gets D and E is about 28%. So you're talking about 51% of our SPM leavers. Maths is not doing well in maths.
Right.
So hence,
it's worrying.
So it's worrying. Yeah, exactly. It's worrying.
Right. I used to be studying maths and all the sciences, and this is where we say that it has not changed for the last 50, maybe 100 years. When we were studying, we were not sure where is the application. So hence, when in this new program in UTP, we are turning it around. We bring the problem-based learning into the class. We start the class by saying, this industry A is having this challenge. How can we solve it?
But Mr. Firouz, that's what I said. This is happening at SPM level. By the time they reach you, we're going to have a problem.
It's going to get worse, maybe.
Okay. But problem-based learning can be also incorporated early.
Yes.
So rather than we learn the theory, the formula, and only then final year we do project, we do projects early. And then when we do early, the teacher, the lecturer, who will now also be changing the role as a facilitator, will inject the principles. Okay, to solve this, you need what? Principle A. How do you calculate it? Okay, here's a formula. But they know what they're solving for, rather than you're given a bunch of formula, but not knowing where to apply. This is where I think we can make STEM sexy again, if we can tell them what is it for.
But this is just one of the many roadblocks in the value chains that's perhaps being the roadblock for this whole STEM industry. So perhaps besides this education and also institution level, what could be the challenges?
Parents, one, because as I said, there needs to be advocacy to the parents. Second is actually, I said the non-technical thing. I think when I did a presentation with regards to this interest in STEM, there's this banner that proclaimed that become a YouTube influencer, you earn 5,000 per month, work part-time, only 2 to 3 hours a day. So how do you compete with that? As I said, how do you compete? So there's one, with regards to parents. Second is actually the job market out there, of course, systemic. And 3, STEM is not sexy and is perceived to be relatively difficult, of course, relatively. So across those value chain, there are challenges. But as I said, that's why I said there is a need for turun padang just now, with regards to, everybody needs to work together, whole of government, whole of nation approach. Not sufficient to be, because I do believe with regards to any job that you're doing, there is value if you have basic elements of STEM education.
So basically, STEM is isn't just about education, it's a multi-party effort at the same time. So a future-ready workforce isn't built overnight as well, and it's a continuous effort that requires agility, collaboration, also foresight. So Malaysia has made a significant progress, as we've discussed today. Staying ahead in an AI-driven world means than just having the right numbers. It's about having the right skills, like both of you mentioned, mindset and also adaptability. So I would like to say thank you so much. A big thank you to Mr. Rushdi Abdul Rahim, also Mohamed Firouz Asnan, for your invaluable insights and for taking time to speak with me today. It's a very interesting session earlier. So you can find this whole conversation on all of our social media platforms, and that includes astroawani.com.